Hi, everybody. I'm John Self, and welcome to Lunch and Learn, our fall edition. We're kicking off today at noon on Thursday. Now, if you want to join us regularly, from now on, we'll be on at noon on Tuesdays here on the Guiding Your Career channel. Thank you for joining us. We have a great subject today, giving you some guidance, some strategies, actionable steps, how to avoid a layoff in uncertain economic times. The Fed reduced the interest rate yesterday. That's good news. But the 50 basis point reduction suggests that they're a little concerned about the softening employment market. And so that is not a bad news sign, but certainly concerning, especially if you're an executive in management, because we're already in the throes of what they call a white collar recession. I'll talk about that more and other things next here on Lunch and Learn. And now let's get started. How to avoid a layoff. It's a vital career management strategy for uncertain economic times. Before we begin, let's talk about some housekeeping. Since this is a replay, you're not going to be able to ask your questions. However, if you do have questions, there are two options for you. Number one, you can reach me at john@johngself.com, john@johngself.com, or you can schedule a call, go to our webpage, johngself.com, go to the bottom of the page, and there is a link that says talk to John and schedule a time. I'll be happy to answer questions. When you arrange those kinds of calls, fear not. You're not going to get a high pressure sales pitch to get you to become a coaching client. We're going to answer your questions, provide you information. And we think that's the best way to build confidence in the marketplace. We're busy. We'd always like to have more business, but we don't need to twist anybody's arm or wring anybody's neck to get that business. So don't hesitate to ask for time on my schedule, and I'll be happy to answer your questions. Well, the Fed's interest rate is cut is good, as I said, but suggests that there's concern with slowing job market. 25 basis points would have probably said, okay, we want to continue to be cautious. 50 basis points, I think, recognize that the employment market has slowed somewhat, and that's a little bit of a cause for concern because they do not want to push the economy into a recession. Now, in the Fed's defense, I know, depend on which party you belong to. Right now, if you're a Republican, you probably are upset about what they're doing because you think it's politically motivated. The truth is the Fed has one tool to try to keep employment and keep interest rates down, and that is the interest rate lever. And so it's a tough job. They've done a great job so far. But major corporations, and Amazon is certainly out in front on this, are planning strategic layoffs. Howard Jesse, the CEO of Amazon, said that he was going to try to reduce the workforce to streamline operations. Well, streamline operations mean layoff. He was talking about they have about 325,000 executive, administrative, management, and administrative personnel, and that is creating a lot of extra layers of management. When they start talking about extra layers of management, that means cuts. The last time they did a pretty big layoff was a record in this country. I think it was around 22,000 people. So that's a significant amount of company. With 350,000 administrative executive people globally, if you did a 10% layoff, well, you do the math. That's pretty significant. And one of the tips that they are serious about cutting costs is the requirement that their employees return to the office 5 days a week. Streamlining management, RTOs, this is going to produce layoffs. And this is, if you were in a company and they had been very sort of flexible about how you worked, where you worked, and then suddenly they have a mandatory RTO, you can bet that is a slight hint that things are not as well as the company wants them to be in terms of return on investment. So who else is going to be affected besides Amazon? Retail, communications, and healthcare. Yes, healthcare, which has been a strong employer through this period of time. We've had 42 months of uninterrupted job growth. That is a record in this country in modern history. But all economics trends come to an end. It's just cyclical. You're going to see some reductions as businesses monitor cost and as the economy cools. Healthcare is struggling with shortages in some areas. They're struggling with high cost and business pushback in other areas. And so I know some hospital CEOs feel schizophrenic at times. Now, the goal here is to have a soft landing in the economy. That will minimize some job losses, but a hard landing, which means that the country is moving into more of a recession with widespread layoffs, it is still a possibility. So what does that mean? It means you can't sit back and think that it won't happen to you. You've got to become job search ready because the market now is so difficult to deal with in terms of how its structure operates. And so if you're trying to figure everything out, do I need to make an investment? Do I need to get job search ready? You're trying to read the financial tea leaves, and that's difficult. I mean, I do that quite a bit, and I can tell you I'm right half the time, maybe. And that's my record is not necessarily any worse than Wall Street. And misreading those tea leaves, misreading those economic trends can be costly. So now let's move to our agenda, how to avoid a layoff. First thing, what do you need to do? Well, you need to watch for the hints that something's up. A lot of times people are blowing through red lights and there are flashing lights all around them and they don't even pay attention. So now is the time to elevate your radar and start paying attention to the small things that might suggest something's up. You also need to establish some preemptive logistical steps to protect your brand and avoid hurdles with a job search. Job search, if you haven't been in the market 5 or 10 years, man, is it different. And it's hard. It is really tough to find a job. And if you don't have a network, it's doubly hard. The odds are 150 to 201 against you. Now is also the right time to begin taking personal financial actions to beef up your savings and to have some flexibility because the severance packages aren't as generous as they were during the COVID-19 layoffs. It's important. Don't take anything for granted. Avoid speculative gossip because it might come back to bite you. And that's sort of a general pro tip for the day. Now, the reality of office politics, something else we want to talk about. You have to decide to play or hide. A lot of people say, I hate office politics. I'm not going to do that. Well, let me tell you something. It's a reality. Not to play it can be problematic. You just have to pay attention. And there's a right way and a wrong way. And we're going to talk about the right way today. Finally, we are going to have an action plan for mitigating layoff risk in this uncertain time. So let's go back to item number 1, hints that something's up. And the exclamation mark is, please pay attention. I've been in a lot of companies throughout my career as an executive recruiter, and I just have a really good radar for culture and for things that are just slightly off edge. And for me, there's always, I call it a certain sense in the air that maybe business is slowing, maybe the competition is intensifying, maybe there have been some changes in the executive ranks that people don't quite understand. It makes them a little uncomfortable. But that kind of subtle feelings that exudes throughout an organization. So keep alert for that certain sense that maybe business is flowing. Maybe there are other issues affecting leadership, competition, those kinds of things. Pay attention. Don't dismiss those because if you're an executive or a manager, not paying attention can be very expensive. Also, another sign that things may not be working well for your organization is that competitors are beginning to lay off. Projects are delayed in your own organization or they're canceled outright. Managers emphasize expense control. When I was at the Houston Post as an editor and a writer, they went on a big kick once about conserving paper clips. And part of that is because in the old days, and I am old and quite dinosauric, we used newsprint to type our stories. And it was nice paper, but it wasn't real thick. And it was the same paper that they printed the newspaper on. And they had clean versions of it, and they cut it into 8.5 by 11 squares, and that was it. Well, we used paper clips because staples would be hard and tear the paper, and so they went crazy about conserving expenses on paper clips. And that was a good tip-off that they were concerned about diminishing profits and cash flow. Another thing to watch for, are they leaving positions unfilled? Are they not recruiting? And that is a real key sign. So keep an eye on those kind of subtle indicators of what's happening. You might also want to subscribe to industry publications. A lot of them are free newsletters, and you can watch layoffs in competitors around the country. If you're in healthcare, Becker's has a really good newsletter, several of them, as a matter of fact, and they talk about layoffs and where things are happening. You need to, if you don't subscribe to that, it doesn't cost anything, but that's something that you absolutely want to do. Get my earphones straight away here. That's absolutely something you want to do because it can give you insight, can give you important insight on what may happen to your organization later. You want to educate yourself on the new job market rules. A lot of people come into the marketplace, they start looking for a job, and they become amazingly frustrated in a hot hurry because they didn't realize that the way you submit a resume, how the resume must look, how it works, how you have to interview, all of those things, everything has changed. And today you have to be much more job search ready to be competitive in a short period of time. Your resume has to be applicant tracking sensitive. In other words, 95 to 96% of all companies in the United States today use what is called applicant tracking systems. They are computerized AI automation tools that take all the resumes submitted online and read them, scan them based on the job that they've been submitted for, and decide, the computer decides whether you're going to be advanced in the search. Out of 10 resumes sent, only only 2 or 3 are ever seen by recruiters. The rest are just thrown away, or they're ejected into the dark hole of space. Who knows? Some people call applicant tracking systems, ATS, applicant tossing systems. You have to set up alerts also on the WARN and government site. Now, WARN is a federal law passed in the late 90s, I believe, that basically was for worker retraining. But one of the provisions is that any company with more than 100 employees at a location is obligated to notify their state workforce commission or state unemployment office if they plan to do any layoffs in a site with 100 or more employees. And knowing that is going to happen, I think it's a 60-day advance notice. Knowing that's going to happen can give you a chance to start looking for a job before anybody else in your organization is looking. There's a great story about a woman who was called into the HR office on a Monday morning, and they said, "I'm sorry to tell you, but we're laying off people today, and you're on the list, and this is your last day. And when we finished here, you need to gather up your personal belongings and leave the building." And she said, "Well, thanks for that. I already have another job." And she said, "How do you know?" She said, "I didn't even know till this morning." And she said, "Because I've been watching the government site and I saw that we had a layoff planning." Now, some people say it's 30 days, maybe 60 days. Quite frankly, that little fact has slipped my mind. But even if it's just 30 days advance notice, getting out in the front of the line, that is priceless. Okay, now let's move on and talk about the elephant in the room. This is one of the biggest mistakes, and it's a very common mistake. People think that everything's fine. I got a good job. I'm doing a good job. I make good money. Nothing's going to change. Everything's going to keep going. And it's just incredible bliss. Excuse me. Wrong. Nothing could be further from the truth. And when you think everything's going to be all right, it's sort of like employment karma gods punish me. Don't do that. Set up a rainy day account before there's even a hint of uncertainty in your business. That will save you an enormous amount of anxiety. What you want to do is maybe try to save up at least 3 months' pay, net pay, in a bank account, not in an account where you're going to mix it with other dollars. You want to be sure this is segmented so you don't inadvertently get tempted to take it down. Moreover, you want to avoid taking money out of your retirement account if you can possibly help it. This is now a time. We're now in a time, and this going through the rest of the season. Yes, Christmas is coming up. Thanksgiving's coming up. You want to certainly have a good holiday season, but don't go crazy. This is a year that you want to be thoughtful. You don't want to go over the top. Less sometimes is more. Keep in mind, things are okay right now. Jobs are still, although slowing down, it's still a healthy job market, but no economic trend lasts forever. And so you're going to have to be careful and pay attention to the changes. You may not like to consume financial news, but now's the time to start. And please, please don't just say, well, I've got 50,000 in retirement funds and I can use that if I have to. Don't do that unless you absolutely have to. If you're looking at imminent utilities being cut off, or you're being evicted from your home because of a default or not non-payment of rent, okay, that's where you might do a loan from your retirement plan if you can arrange a loan. But do not do big drawdowns on your retirement funds, thinking that when things settle down and you start making a lot of money again, you can pull it back up by the bootstraps. No, you can't. It's very difficult to change that. Now let's move to point number 4. Do not take anything for granted. This is an underlying theme today, but that's also a big problem when we have layoffs. People say, well, they say what they always say. It can't happen to me. I'm successful. I'm essential to the organization. I've closed a bunch of deals. I have saved the hospital or the manufacturing plant lots of money. I negotiated a great union contract. I did this. I did that. I'm safe. Don't say that, because it can happen to you. The other one you say is, my boss really likes me and I just can't imagine them getting rid of me. We have such a great relationship. Your boss has a great relationship with a lot of different people. And one of the toughest things in the world is being a boss and having to let go of friends when you're told how many people you have to eliminate from your department. Your boss is going to have to make some tough decisions. Don't base it just on friendship. And if you think doing a good job will protect you, well, there's ample evidence that when Google did their massive layoffs 2 years ago, 2 years ago, a lot of people who'd been there 17, 18, 20 years with great job histories, great job record of accomplishment, they were included in the layoffs. Why? Because it becomes a numbers thing, and a lot of people were doing a good job, and a lot of those people lost their jobs. Now, layoffs are not based on merit. They're based on numbers. Merit of having done a good job, that's helpful. Building an internal network where you have a lot of support, that's extremely helpful. Okay. But what you want to do is don't sit back and say, well, I do a good job. I deserve to stay, because a lot of other people here aren't doing a very good job. And certainly they're going to be the ones laid off, not me. You can't assume that that's true. And let me tell you why. Because, friendship sometimes does work against you. The boss has a really close friend, a fishing buddy, a hunting buddy, and he's not the greatest employee in the world, but they get along really well, and he'll protect his friend. And you may be the victim of that friendship. It happens all the time. Don't whine about it not being fair. Hey, next month they have something in Dallas. It's called the State Fair. Come see us if you're looking for fair. Number 5 is the reality of office politics. It's there. It's always been there. You can't sit there and say, no, I'm not going to do that. Let me tell you, because everybody views office politics as negative. That's not the case. Office politics, it's a reality when you have more than 12 people come together. And so you're going to ignore this. You're going to hide from it at your own peril. Now, I've always said there's 2 B's in office politics: butt kissing and bullying. And there are other issues, but those are the 2 main ones. And you don't want to be on either side of that equation. What you want to do is understand that in office politics, there's a right way and a wrong way. And the right way is being someone who's very brand savvy about who you are, how you want to be perceived, what you want to accomplish. That's the brand savvy way. And that's the smart way for office politics. And when you get involved in office politics, some people it's all about themselves. It's self-gain. I'm going to screw this person, or I'm going to set that person up, or I'm going to make them look bad, or I'm going to embarrass them because I can then advance my career off their misery. That's a terrible way to do anything. And those are the people, when I've had to do layoffs, I've always tried to get rid of first. Authentic relationship building is a key factor. You want to look to build relationships, deep, meaningful relationships with key people in the organization. And we'll talk about that in just a second. As you come into a new organization and looking for actionable steps to help you move forward, you want to build an internal brand. Something that basically it's your part of your reputation. It's how you get work done. It's the quality of your work. It's your willingness to help other people. It's your friendliness. It's your agreement to go the extra mile, or help somebody if they have a big birthday party on a weekend, that you'll take their shift, or that you'll help out and finish up a project. How do you want to be seen by your colleagues is very, very important. If you're a jerk, there's not going to be anybody willing to help you avoid the layoff. If you're a jerk, there people are not going to be rushing to the manager saying, please don't let Louise go, or please don't let John go. They are so integral to our success. They're so helpful. We really would feel like that would be a major loss for the company. That kind of support is what you're looking for. Number two, establish your team credibility. Be authentic, be consistent, and be dependable. Do not be self-centered. That comes across, and people don't like that, and they're not going to stand by you if you really need support when they're trying to pick who's going to live and who's going to die. Number three, map your department or your division. Who is and who is not trustworthy? Now, that's not, that's sometimes it's arbitrary, but as you come into a new department or come into a new company, there will be people who will, test you and to find out if you're somebody they want to be supportive of, if you're somebody they can trust. And those are people, if you listen carefully and you ask carefully worded questions, not to hurt anybody, but you can try to figure out who's trustworthy, who's the influencer, who's the power behind the scene. These are all things you want to know. You can't get that information in one conversation. It's a months-long process. Pay attention. Who are the internal influencers? Because that's an individual. Those are individuals or an individual that you want to build a relationship with. Most of the people you encounter in a department are going to be trustworthy, and when you get a bunch of people together, there's always going to be people. There are always going to be employees that are out for themselves. They're self-centered. They're looking for how they can get paid more and do less. One of the key elements of this is you want to build an internal network. And to do this, you use similar strategies for your external networking. You do that by figuring out who the influencers are, who are the people that are the go-to people on the worker bees. Who does the manager go to be sure something's done right? These are the people you want to build relationships with. These are the people you want to sort of benefit from informal mentoring. People who can tell you how things are done, people who can tell you what are where the sacred cows are located, all of those kinds of helpful things. These are the people that will ask you to go to lunch just because they enjoy your company. So you really want to get to know them and build them. You're not asking for anything. What you're doing is it's not about you. It's about how can you help them? How can you be supportive of them? Another key point of 5 in this list of 6 actionable steps, is you want to achieve your deliverables. That's very, very important. You can be the nicest person in the world. You can be the most authentic person in the world. But if you can't deliver quality work, if your work product is not on time, if it's not of high quality, you're not delivering you can't achieve your deliverables, well, that's not going to help you avoid a layoff. Merit doesn't protect you, but it certainly will put you higher on the list. Number 6, volunteer for projects, good and bad. There are going to be some people don't volunteer for projects they view as a risk. Well, if you really want to move your career forward, if you want to advance in an organization, if you want to move to the next better job there or in another company someplace else, you're going to have to take some risk. So the good and the bad, volunteer for projects. And other team leaders in the organization that are struggling to get something done, offer to help them. Now, office politics, badly played, is rarely rewarded. That's so if you're going to get into that role, play it right. Do it right. Be brand savvy. Think about how you want to be perceived, what you want people to say about you. That's so important. And that's how you communicate. That's what you communicate. So, if you're in a conservative community, this is probably not a good time to start wearing your Vice President Harris buttons, not because you shouldn't support her, but because you have to pay attention to your relationships within an organization, and certain issues are just flashpoint issues, and you don't need to bring those and damage potentially beneficial relationships. Everybody's unique. People who have different religious or different political perspectives are not necessarily bad people. And so you look for what unites you with the person, what you enjoy about each other, and develop that relationship. And that's really, really important. Now, let me tell you about something else we're working on. Every Monday through Friday at 6:30 a.m., a new career newsletter drops. This morning, we talked about, we have the pollen today is very, very high, 9.8. enough to, I haven't sneezed, but anyway, we try write about things that will help you with your career. Today, we talked about doing the things you like to do. You know, a lot of times we go to work for a company, they pay us well, we don't really like it, and we get caught by the trappings of success. Well, the operative word there is trappings. You get trapped by success. Well, the economy's kind of slowing. Maybe I'll just hunker down and hang on. I'm not happy. Everything's okay, but I'm not really happy. I'm not doing what I really want to do, but I'll hunker down and get through this. And then on the other side, I'll do something. Then on the other side, suddenly you're hunkering down again and again and again. And then suddenly you find out that you spent your entire life working in a job that you didn't enjoy just to pay bills until you died. That's a pretty harsh look at life, but don't be that person. Try to find something you enjoy doing. You don't have to want to be the top of your career, the top of any industry, but you do want to have a job that you can take care of yourself and your family and enjoy it. And enjoy it, because work should bring you not only financial reward, but spiritual and emotional reward. So that's what we write about in Guiding Your Careers, the Guiding Your Career Report, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Now, Monday through Friday. Now, if you are a LinkedIn subscriber, we run part of the newsletters on LinkedIn Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Let's clear that up, and you get that for free. But you're not going to get the whole picture, and we're going to be readjusting how what the subscribers get and what the free subscribers get. So we're going to try to really beef up our content so to give you information that's helpful to help you manage your career. Now, again, at the outset, I said, hey, if you need to talk to me, I'm happy to help you. The company is johngself.com. John G. Self Partners, Inc. is the holding company. And our coaching program is called Guiding Your Career. And we are delighted to try to help you. And sometimes you can't really afford a coach because you just have one or two questions. Schedule a call. I'm happy to talk to you. And as I said, our goal is to answer your questions, give you information, not to try to sell you something you can't afford or you're not ready to buy. But that doesn't make good sense. So check our webpage out at johngself.com. If you want to look at some of our free downloads and some of our courses you can get access to, click the little button on the right-hand side. It says check out our affordable courses or become a member of our membership program. That button right there on the right-hand side, click that when you see it, and it'll take you to the course page. But you can schedule a phone call or a Zoom call, and I'm happy to talk to you. Now, as I said at the outset, we're getting ready to kind of ramp back up on our live streams. And so we've changed our streaming syndication service. So that's one of the reasons we took some time off to kind of evaluate new products. Lunch and Learn will be noon Central Time on Tuesday. Office Hours, which is a very popular, a little bit longer coaching session, occurs at 4 p.m. on Wednesday. TikTok Live, Your Career Questions will debut at 7:30 p.m. Central Time next Thursday on TikTok. And then Career Live, Your Career Questions. Some people don't like TikTok. Some people don't go to TikTok. So we'll be answering career questions at 7:30 a.m. Friday mornings, and we'll also be talking about developments in technology and developments in the job market the preceding week. So I hope this has been helpful information. When we do these for the foreseeable future, we're going to have them available to you at no cost on YouTube. At some point, this will all be membership and subscriber content. So if we can help you, please do. If you like what we're doing, consider becoming a newsletter subscriber. If you want access to our courses, you can get those by becoming a member. It's an enrollment fee, and then you pay $89 a month. You get everything from the online courses, the access to the live coaching sessions, group coaching sessions, and you also get the newsletter. And so hopefully if you need help, that will be one way. That's kind of a do-it-yourself model. We also have custom premium packages that go up to $12,000 for unlimited support as you find a job. And a lot of executives are beginning to look at that option because it's just so challenging. And we help you avoid mistakes and accelerate your job search. Thank you again, everybody. We hope that you'll come back and visit with us soon. We'll be back up next Tuesday. We'll be promoting that once we activate our Restream project, and we will give you channels of distribution on over the weekend for our next live stream at noon next Tuesday, office hours at 4 next Wednesday, and Career Live next Friday morning. And if you're a TikTok person in the wild, wild west of TikTok, which is a huge platform, please join us at 7:30. You just go to the live stream and scroll through till you find us. We'll see you then. Have a great weekend, everybody. And thank you so much for joining us.